Shall we start?
Within a minute, we are going to begin.
Okay.
Shankar, we can begin.
Yes. Okay. Yeah.
Others are requested to turn off their mic and cameras.
Yeah. Others, please. Yeah. A warm good evening to everyone. I'm very happy to welcome you all to the Students Webinar Series 2, organized by English Language Teachers Association of India. Before going to the webinar, let's watch a video about the activities of ELTAI. Please play the video. Thank you. A couple of announcements to the participants. E-certificate will be provided to those participants who attend the full session. Feedback link will be provided about the webinar to your registered email ID. And the participants are requested to raise their questions in the chat box. Today's webinar is on writing skills, how to write an essay. If you are studying in any university, you will be required to do a large amount of writing, whatever your subject. Some people distinguish between essays and the reports, and you may also know some other names for written assignments. However, sometimes the same name is used for very different types of assignment, and the different names are used for very similar types of assignments. For example, in business context, case study is very common, and in law, problem questions are very common, and while in history and philosophy, essays are very common. I'm very much excited to introduce the two speakers for today's webinar. Richa Sharma. Richa is a CELTA certified ESL and EFL teacher and has over 5 years of experience in teaching adults and potential IELTS takers. She has been teaching English at the British Council since 2015, and her expertises include business English and IELTS exam training. She also works with the training institutes, developing content for the English component for competitive examinations. And student speaker, Mr. Chinna Raja. Chinna is a computer science graduate who currently does database design and freelance consulting. For many years, he wants to pursue his post-graduation abroad and thereby leading to immigration. Now, I do invite Ms. Richa and Mr. Chinna to take over the floor.
Thank you so much, Dr. Shankar, for the introduction. Welcome aboard, everyone. As Dr. Shankar has already introduced us, my name is Richa, and my student speaker is Chinnaraj. And today's topic, as you very well know, is writing skills. We're going to look at particularly how to write an essay. Dr. Shankar has rightly mentioned that essay writing is a very important skill, especially for college students and people who want to take international exams to go abroad. So let's get into the detail of what essay writing is, how to overcome challenges and problems associated with it. And yeah, let's get started. Hello, Chinna, good evening.
Good evening.
Before we start our presentation, I would like to ask you for your opinion. Could you tell me what you think is an essay, or what is essay writing?
Essay writing to me, ma'am, is something that I'm asked to do or present in exams or competitive exams, using which I'm graded or evaluated on English language.
Very well put. Do you use your own arguments, opinions, ideas when you write an essay?
Honestly, ma'am, sometimes I do, and most of the times I don't.
All right. Let's have a quick view, a quick glimpse of what essay is. I'll give you 30 seconds. Please read through and understand what essay writing could be.
Yes, ma'am.
I would like to highlight some phrases, some parts of this definition. As you can see, it is a writer's own argument, your opinion, your own point of view. You're also writing it in such a way wherein you are trying to persuade the reader to believe what you've written. The common objective, of course, is presenting a topic, defending it, and of course, presenting a stance to the reader. So now that we've understood what essay writing is, why should we know how to write an essay? Why must we learn it? What do you think, Chinaraj?
Um, I think I must give an essay because now that gives me good marks, as I already said, in competitive exams, and that is a key thing for me to uh, land a university seat abroad. That's what I think, man.
Great. I'm only going to reinstate whatever you just said. Practically, you've covered most of those things. So yes, there is an academic importance to it, educational importance. You use it in competitive exams and international exams. Um, at the same time, the skills that are required for essay writing takes you through a journey of planning, brainstorming, structuring in such a way that it eventually makes you an independent writer, which is, of course, a very important skill uh, later in life. So now that we've understood what an essay is, we've understood why must we learn to write an essay, let's talk about problems associated with it.
Okay.
In your experience, Chinaraj, what are the problems that you might have faced when you knew that you were going to write an essay?
I think, ma'am, the first time I was asked to write an essay, I have I had no clue, so I went to my seniors.
Can you please be
And
louder? China, can you please be louder?
yes, sir. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Can you hear me now?
It's absolutely fine now. Please go ahead.
Okay. Uh, Sorry about that. The first time I was asked to write an essay, I had no clue how to write one. I went to my seniors, and I think finally I ended up in a library copying one which was already present. That's how clueless I was.
I'm sure a lot of students in the audience overall would be able to relate to such a problem. A lot of students do go to libraries, talk to seniors, try to get ideas from other people. Um, that is one of the major problems with essay writing. What do people do when they know they're going to write an essay? They reach out to other people. They look for books. They go to the library. They want it to be dictated to them. Sometimes it's in form of notes. You make umpty number of notes from different sources, and then you write an essay. So basically, it's not in form of essay. It's just in form of notes.
Okay.
At the same time, it's important to ask ourselves: are we using our own opinions, our own ideas, or are we trying to depend upon others' ideas and opinions? So this presentation is going to talk about these problems and help you overcome them eventually.
Okay.
Something we just discussed?
Okay. I just-
Are you able to relate to them now, Chinaraj?
The first word, yes, ma'am, and the rest
Great.
as well.
Great. So there are problems associated with essay writing. We get that. What about the challenges? The moment you look at a question or you look at a topic, there are so many challenges you face before you start writing. Um, for example, you look at a question and you don't know what to write. What do you think? What are your challenges?
A lot of them, ma'am. To start with, let's say I'm given an essay. I don't know where to begin and how to write it actually, which means it would be helpful if I know if there is a fixed structure or a format that I can learn and follow that. And while browsing online, I could see that there are many essays having big words, complex sentences. Uh, Now, should I also be using big words and complex sentences or lengthy sentences. Uh, so these are some of the challenges that I face.
Very good. How about planning? Do you ever spend time planning for the essay?
No, and the moment I read the question, I just start writing whatever comes to my mind.
All
I don't exactly plan.
right, let me summarize all the challenges that you've talked about and some more. Yes, question analysis, a very big challenge. How do we understand the question? How do we analyze the central ideas? How much of the question will help us to write the essay? Then there is planning. Do we plan? Do we not plan? How much time do we spend on planning? What percent of the minutes allotted to us to write the essay should we actually spend on brainstorming for ideas and planning the essay? Then, of course, as you mentioned, the structure. What is the right structure? What is the right format? We're going to talk about all of those things.
Okay.
And then, of course, written fluency. Can we associate the word fluency with writing at all? Yes, we can. There is written fluency. And that includes logical flow. We will talk about those challenges too. And in the end, like you said, do we use big words? How important are they? What is vocabulary? What is grammar? How do I score better in essay writing when I'm taking an exam? So let's have a look at them. Let's find solutions for them together, shall we?
Sure.
So you have a question, any topic that you could think of. What do you do the moment you look at it? Do you analyze it?
No, ma'am, but the moment I take a look at the question, I start writing down whatever I do. A to Z, whatever I do.
All right. So I have a task for you. I'm going to show you a topic, a question, and I would like you to think of any analysis that you could come up with.
Okay.
So what do you think is the
Complete
topic
question.
here?
Social media.
Is that it?
And the way it is helping us or changing us communicate with one another.
Very
I think
good.
that's the topic.
Yes, it is.
Okay.
And what do you think about the sentence right after that?
Do you believe in managing the critical topics associated with that? They're asking us to give a comparison of the advantages and disadvantages, and I get to choose between the both. So I'll go either with advantage or with disadvantage.
All right, we will discuss that in some time when we are looking at the question and analyzing it deeper and further. An essay question usually is divided into two parts. Let's look at what those parts are. There is a topic and there is a task. The topic is usually a situation, any fact or a situation based on current affairs, current opinions, and that becomes our topic. Task, as you can see on your right, is what do we do with the topic? In this case, like you said, advantages, disadvantages. And are we really making a choice between the two? Or are we thinking which is greater? We'll look at those things too. I'll give you 30 seconds. Have a look at this breakup, read the question again, understand how we have divided them, and then we move on. Have you ever divided the question like this before, Chandaraj?
So this would be the first time.
All right. Now, we'll move on to topic analysis. As we discussed, the first sentence in this case is our topic. What do you think are the keywords in that sentence?
Social media,
Okay.
communicate,
Okay.
changed.
Very good.
I think.
And what about these days? Does that give you a hint of something?
Oh yeah, these days talk about the current or the present days,
Very good.
which means we can also compare. Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Again, since you've helped me so,
Could you speak a bit louder,
Yes, sir.
Chinnaraj?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
since you've helped me so much already, I'm quickly going to summarize whatever you just said.
Okay.
Yes, like you said, the keywords or phrases in this topic is social media, change, very important. It's not the same. That's what we are trying to reinstate. Yes, the way people communicate, that has changed. And these days, we are trying to comment and establish arguments based on a current situation. And there is a central idea to it. All I've done is paraphrase the topic in my own words for better understanding, to help me write a better essay, eventually leading me to write gradual change in the way people have conversations or communicate nowadays, in contradiction to how people communicated in the past. What is different currently? Let's look at the task now. We have analyzed the topic. Have a look at this again. I'll give you 30 seconds and then we move on.
Yes. We can move on.
Great. Now, we were talking about task. The task is, do you believe the advantages of this change are greater than the drawbacks associated with it? We have to think of advantages, disadvantages, as well as which is greater. So we have established the fact that there are three parts to the task:
Yes, ma'am.
pros, cons, and which is big, which is greater, or which is more.
Okay.
All right, we've understood the topic. We have got the central idea of the topic. We have understood what the question is asking us to do with the topic. How many parts of the task? What do we do now? Do we plan or do we write?
How we plan, ma'am. Obviously, no. Yeah, we
Yeah,
plan.
yeah. So let's think of how to generate ideas for the essay.
Yes.
You've looked at the topic. How would you think of ideas?
The moment I'm given a topic to write an essay, I'll think of whatever I know about that topic and
Very
whatever I
good.
have heard, ma'am. I think that is where I start.
What about any reading material you might have come across?
Yes, ma'am. That too. I use that as well. Yes. Now that you point
And
out, yes.
yes. Let's have a look at different sources from where we can generate ideas to write an essay. Reading, a very, very important skill.
Okay.
We generate a lot of ideas from whatever we might have read in the past. Reflecting on what we have listened to. We watch a lot of videos these days. We
Yes.
also listen to podcasts. We listen
Yes, ma'am.
to videos that we watch. We listen to speeches, people giving their opinion about so many different things. Subconsciously, we try to derive whatever we can, reflecting on what we have listened to. Of course, using our own imagination. What is right with social media? What could be wrong? How has it changed? Will it change in the future? Using your imagination. And of course, there has to be a free flow of ideas before you actually put down a plan on paper. You can see there is a word called brainstorming on your screen. We will look at the concept of brainstorming in some more detail on the next page. Yeah, so we're talking about free flow of ideas. At the same time, your life experiences. Most of the people nowadays, especially young people, are on social media. What are their experiences like? They use WhatsApp, Instagram, Facebook. So they get their experiences into the topic. And it's not just about social media. These ways of generating ideas can be applied to any question or any topic that you come across during an exam. We were talking about brainstorming. What are the few things that come to your mind when you think of the word brainstorming? What is the concept like? What do you think?
Brainstorming, ma'am, we had this session in college where two or
Chinna,
three of us.
so sorry to interrupt you. Can you please be louder?
Oh, sorry, sir.
Yeah, now
Brainstorming.
it's
Uh, while in college, we were asked by a professor, like, form a group, two or three of us, and come up with ideas about a particular topic and write it down.
All right. Did you apply any filters here?
Most of the times, yes, ma'am, because I do come up with a lot of thoughts or ideas about a particular topic, but I don't. I think most of that will not be relevant to what I'm going to write down. So let's say I think about 10 of them and I just write two or three of it down.
Let's change that a little bit. Let's think of the first stage as a stage where we are not applying any filters whatsoever. What we are really trying to do is have a free flow of ideas that come to us, and we write them down. We're not only writing, we're actually scribbling on paper. We are making rough notes with whatever hits us when we look at a topic. In this case, we are talking about social media and how it has changed communication. What brainstorming could look like is this. Whatever comes to your mind. Not everything has to be relevant. For example, in this case, the phrase current affairs, that is not relevant with communication as such. It is relevant with social media. But can we use it for the topic? Not really. So this is one way of brainstorming, and I'm sure that students can come up with way more points than what you see on screen.
Yeah.
30 seconds, have a look, and I move on.
I'm sorry to ask again. So there shouldn't be any filters in writing down our thoughts during
Not
this
in
stage.
this stage.
Okay.
Good question,
Okay.
Shina. Not in this stage. Not here.
Okay.
It's a good idea to let your ideas flow down.
Okay.
However, it is important to keep the topic in mind.
Okay.
That should be the only form of filter, a very small one, but an important filter when you're brainstorming, keeping the topic in mind.
Okay.
The primary concern here is social media.
Okay.
When we are planning, we can think of other keywords. As you saw it in one of the previous pages, these days, communication, the gradual change, all of these things can come in the planning stage. But the moment you think social media, you brainstorm without any filter. We will
Okay,
apply
ma'am.
filters later.
Okay. I understand. We can proceed now. Yeah.
Now, we're moving on to the planning stage. How to plan your essay. We have scribbled all the ideas that came to us when we thought of the topic. We put them down on paper. Now is where we apply filters. We think of the topic again. We try to narrow down on what ideas are relevant and what are not. At the
Okay.
same time, we think of the task. How many parts are there in the task, Chindaraj?
3 of them, ma'am.
As we discussed earlier, there are 3. Thank you. There is advantages, disadvantages, and which is greater. I am repeating this because these 3 parts of the task will help you to plan your essay. Let me show you how. Think of advantages. In this case, this paragraph or this plan for one paragraph is the paragraph for advantages. Now, which do you think is the main idea of this paragraph? Advantages or global approach?
Global approach.
Yes. It's important that at this stage, when you are coming up with a main idea for a paragraph that you're about to write, you not only take advantages as the main idea, but one key advantage that you will be able to support in your following ideas and sentences. In this case, you have advantages, and that key advantage is global approach. So if you look at the 3 supporting ideas, worldwide connect, bringing people together, and small-scale businesses, do you think they together support the key advantage of global approach?
Yes, ma'am. They appear. Yes, ma'am.
How do you think?
By looking at those words, ma'am, so we are talking about a global approach, and then we talk about worldwide connect. So, and bringing people together.
Very
All
good.
of that seems to be connected or interconnected. That's what I
And
think, ma'am.
very good. And it's not only connected to the idea of social media. Think of a bubble. Social media and changing in the way people communicate. You are in that bubble. It's important to keep those things in mind every time you plan for an essay. So, global approach, 3 supporting ideas. Worldwide connect, a global connect, bringing people together, and a global way of small-scale businesses on the rise. So all of these 3 things support the main advantage or the main idea in this paragraph. We will look at a paragraph as an example, but this is what an outline or a plan may look like. Give you some time, have a look, and then we move on.
Okay, ma'am.
Let's look at the second paragraph. Disadvantages. Here, the key idea of the paragraph would not be disadvantage, but overuse or misuse.
Yes.
Just as you did in the first one, Chinaraj, could you help me with this one too?
So again, overuse or misuse is the main idea, and it is supported by the other ideas listed here, such as lack of human connection, invasion of privacy, and inappropriate information. They will talk either about overusing social media or misusing social media, supporting the main idea.
Very good. And that's what it is. You've basically talked about every important point to be discussed here.
Okay.
Yes. So just to reinstate, it's important that we have one main idea that we are supporting in every paragraph. And that cannot be the parts of the task. Use the brainstorming session that you had with yourself while you were, looking at the topic, understanding, analyzing, and then come up with ideas which could eventually be main and supportive. What was the third part of the task? Do you remember?
Advantages, disadvantages, and which one is higher, or
Yes,
which one stands out.
absolutely. Now, let's think of the definition that we talked about. we present our own arguments, opinions, and ideas to persuade the reader. What you have done in these two paragraphs is justify your stance. Now we're going to reinstate it to the reader in order for them to believe what we have written. And that brings us to the third paragraph. Which is greater?
Okay.
You summarize the first one, summarize the second one, and of course, then you give your opinion.
Opinion.
Which do you think is greater and why?
Okay.
I'll give you a minute. Look at the relativity of this first, second, and third outlines, and then we move on.
Ma'am, I have a question.
Yes.
So in the third part, it is mentioned as which is greater, your opinion. So it is strictly my opinion and it need not be entirely correct.
Good question. There is no right or wrong essay.
Okay. Okay, ma'am.
So you are giving your opinion.
Okay.
What you have to do is be persuasive.
Okay.
You have to convince the reader of what you believe. So it has to be strictly your opinion. And remember how being dictated is a problem. So we're going to let go of that and we're going to think of our own opinions and ideas.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, as promised, this is the one of the paragraphs that we'll be looking at, analyzing, trying to find out what is good or not so good about it. How is it logical? How does it support the question? Answering all of these questions and challenges. So we're going to look at written fluency, a logical flow. This is the paragraph we will be working on. I'm going to give you tasks intermittently. So here comes the first one. As you can see, we are looking at logical flow of ideas. We are not focusing a lot on grammar, vocabulary as such here. Language doesn't have to be our primary concern. Our primary concern should be content, should be opinions, should be ideas. So focusing on those areas, I will give you an example of how ideas are connected, and then you will take it from there. Shall we?
I'll try my best, ma'am.
All right. So as you can see, the first one says, one of the major advantages of social media is globalization. Remember the plan, global approach.
Global approach.
Yes. It has been observed that over the recent years, people have international understanding of global issues. Global approach. This idea supports the main idea. And there's, of course, transparency in opinions and ideas too. So the way people communicate has changed. Now, your turn.
Okay. The main idea, as we discussed, is global approach or globalization.
Yes.
The supporting ideas will be after that networking sites bringing the world together, groups and communities connect with each other, social media providing a platform to entrepreneurs to reach out.
Very good. Worldwide connect. The second one was bringing people together. And the third was small-scale businesses. All three supporting ideas together support global approach of communication.
Yeah.
Even though we've used something like an idea like small-scale businesses, the way we have justified it is how they communicate with the world these days, how advertising and promotion is different. They are able to reach out to a wider market, which in turn helps us understand that all of these points help us connect with the topic. Social media changing the way people communicate.
Okay.
And these are some of the advantages outlined.
Okay.
And within the paragraph, there is a lot of connective ideas already. Platforms, groups, communities, free, accessible. Then reaching out to a wider market, transparency in open opinions and ideas. All of these things are connected to each other. The word that we use for this, for logical flow of ideas, the term that we use is coherence. As you can see, it's in the orange box on the right. That is the word. It's called coherence, a logical flow of ideas. Whatever we just discussed, I have quickly highlighted them. So I'll give you a minute, have a look at it, and then we move on.
Okay, ma'am. Okay, ma'am.
Do you have any questions?
No, ma'am.
Great. All right, we've looked at a logical flow of ideas. We'll now look at logical flow of sentences. Now we are getting into language. How are sentences connected to each other? Why is one sentence coming after the other? There has to be some reason behind it. If you have a look, international understanding comes right after globalization. Networking sites such as Facebook and Instagram bring the world together. And then in the following sentence, we are talking about groups and communities. These sentences are interconnected. They've been written one after the other to support each other. How are we providing the support? Let me give you an example. Look at this word here, in addition. I think it's the third sentence. In addition. That gives you an idea that this is my second or the third point. This is something I bring after the previous one.
Okay.
Could you look at this paragraph and come up with some phrases, fixed expressions used to add a logical flow in sentences?
Such as?
Okay, networking sites such as, okay. Such as helps to provide examples. Yes.
And such websites, such again.
Very good.
A final key advantage.
Very nice. What does that signify?
We have already discussed 2 or 3 points, and then we are coming to an end with this final point.
Yes.
Like a final notice.
Very good. These are fixed expressions, phrases, words that we use to add link to ideas and sentences, in turn leading to cohesion, the term for logical flow of sentences. As you can see, there's cohesion written here on the right in the orange box. These are devices, these phrases and words are devices to help you create the connect so that the sentences have a logical flow.
I understand them now.
Using small words like and, because, to, using discourse markers or fixed expressions like moreover, although, it has been observed. These phrases help you to give cohesion to the essay. Here I have highlighted the phrases in discussion and some more. Take a minute, have a look at it before we move on.
Yes, ma'am.
Great. We were also talking about vocabulary and grammar. So are we going to quickly have a glimpse of what variety in vocabulary is like? Social media. That is our topic, and I have used that phrase in the first sentence. Could you find out synonyms to that? Similar phrases, similar words for the concept of social media. Could you find them out in this paragraph that I may have used to add variety in vocabulary?
In addition, networking sites.
Very good.
Not exactly social media, but even groups and communities mean that we are a group.
Yes, it's a similar concept. Yes.
Okay. I think that's it. That's all I can find, ma'am.
Fair enough. There is platform in the last sentence. Such websites, talking about social media again. This forum can connect with each other in a forum. All of these, they relate to this, the concept of social media. It's impossible to look for synonyms, and add a lot of variety in the essay. So what do? We look for similar concepts, something that is close enough to the topic, if not exactly the same. These are some of the key words in the paragraph, and then, of course, different variety added into vocabulary. So for globalization, we've used words like global issues, global transparency, international, global. We've discussed social media already. People. What do? World together.
All together.
Yeah. Members, entrepreneurs. So you have different words that you can use to again come back to the same concept in discussion. I'll give you a minute, have a look, and then we move on.
Okay, ma'am. So, ma'am, not exactly we need to be aware of synonyms for the keywords. We might also use similar terms, like you said.
Yes.
Okay.
Similar terms for that concept as such.
Okay.
And, as in language we say, no two words are the same. So you can never find an exact synonym for a word.
Okay.
So it's important to look at the concept of the term instead of trying to find out a similar word as such.
Okay, ma'am. We can move on.
I have another task for you. We talked about coherence and cohesion. Coherence being logical flow of ideas,
Flow of ideas.
and cohesion being?
Logical flow of sentences.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm going to show you a paragraph which doesn't have a logical flow of ideas or sentences.
Okay.
I want you to help me identify why or how do I say that.
Okay. In the first line, you have one of the main disadvantage. It should be disadvantages. We are
Very good.
listing many, so we are using one of, so it should be disadvantages.
Nice.
Of social media is consuming time. Social media cannot consume time. We are using it, so it would be time consuming for us.
Very good.
And again, the next sentence is social media consumes a lot of time of people. The structure of the
Repetition.
sentence is, yeah, The structure
Yeah.
of the sentence and also the idea is also repeated.
Yes. Repetition in vocabulary, repetition in ideas.
It has It has no use in person's progress. Uh, person apostrophe s.
That's a grammatical error, yes.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
I think similarly there
Kim,
are other mistakes.
yes, yes. It might improve people's. Is there a word like that? People's lives, as it is very attracted. So are we trying to say that social media is attracted to something?
We are attracted to social media.
And life would be less interesting without social media. Now, independently, life would be less interesting without social media, and we are attracted to them. Independently, the ideas are maybe good enough. But together in one sentence, we have to think if it actually makes sense.
Okay.
That brings me to the second last sentence. Social media helped everyone to come together and discuss problems to help each other during flood times. Um, there is that connectivity of ideas that is missing. What do we mean by discuss problems during flood times? The concept is clear. We understand what the writer is trying to say, but the language, the flow is missing in a way that it causes incoherence, or it causes a not so logical flow
Yeah.
of ideas. And the last one, it leads to a lot of issues because it is a waste of time and resources. Do you think issues and waste of time and resources are supported at all? Do you think it's a good last sentence to a paragraph?
Ma'am, to start with, if this is the end of the paragraph, instead of moreover, we can use some other phrase. Let's say the
Okay.
final point.
Okay.
And it says it leads to a lot of issues. Okay. And it is a lot of issues, and we don't talk about those issues, and we jump to waste of time and resources. So I think these are two different sentences. They might look right, but they are not in flow.
Thank you so much. Great job. Okay. An essay is incomplete without an introduction and conclusion. If we think of a good plan that we've already discussed, the plan that we had in discussion had 3 paragraphs.
Yes, ma'am.
So overall, if you add introduction and conclusion, a topic like this with a task like this requires 5 paragraphs
5 paragraphs.
overall.
Okay.
So we've already discussed 3 advantages, disadvantages, and which is greater. Let's look at examples of a good introduction and a good conclusion. With regard to everything that we have planned, the plan that we looked at, the analysis of the question and the task, here they are.
That's a good introduction, ma'am.
I'll let the writer know.
So it is a must that though the question is presented, though everyone knows the topic, we should introduce. Okay.
Absolutely.
Yes, ma'am.
At the same time, it has a lot to do with what you're going to write in the essay. The introduction should have not a complete outline, but a hint of the outline of what the essay is going to be about.
Yes, ma'am.
And the conclusion is basically an extraction of everything that you have discussed in the essay. Here, you're not adding any idea as such. All you are doing is concluding. That means deriving points from everything which was already discussed in the essay.
Richa, another 5 minutes to go for a Q&A.
Okay.
All right, I'll give you 1 more minute. Please have a look at it. Think of the plan. Think of everything we have discussed. Think of the paragraph that we had written, the logical and the incoherent one. You have 1 more minute. Please read this, and then we move on.
Okay.
Great.
Yes, ma'am.
So to summarize, we are looking at a complete structure of 5 paragraphs. The first one being introduction. You introduce the topic by paraphrasing, using your own words, not adding ideas too much as such, but just working on the topic and the task. The second one is, advantages. We've discussed this. It was in the plan. The third one being disadvantages, supporting it. And the fourth one is where we give our stance. Where do we stand? What do we think are more advantages or disadvantages? And the last one is the conclusion, something we just saw. 30 seconds, have a look at this. This gives you a complete structure, a complete summary of almost everything we might have discussed during the session. Okay, we will quickly talk about time management. Chinaraj, you have 30 minutes to write an essay on a very common topic like social media, technology, mobile phone, for example. You have 4 stages to cover. Out of 30 minutes, how much time would you spend on these 4 stages?
For brainstorming, after what we have learned today, about 2 to 3 minutes.
Good.
Planning again would be for 2 to 3 minutes. Writing the essay, the major chunk of time, about 20 minutes.
Okay.
And proofreading, I just do it fast.
I'm going to change that a little bit. Brainstorming has no filters, so we will not spend more than 2 minutes on it. Planning, a very important stage. This is where you are creating your foundation for essay writing. So spend at least 4 to 5 minutes on that. Or 3 to 4, depending on the number of words you have to write, depending on the time that you're allotted. Writing the essay after the planning is done is not going to consume so much time. So we will try and spend 15 to 17 minutes on it. Proofreading is a very, very important stage. At this stage, we can correct so many errors and surprise ourselves with the number of errors that we have made, of course, which is going to be time consuming. So I would say no less than 5 minutes on this stage. Checking is very important. What do you do while you check? After writing an essay, check grammar, check vocabulary. When I say vocabulary, I mean spellings, appropriate uses. Check if your ideas are actually connected to each other. And this would, of course, depend and differ based on the time that you're allotted. So if you're writing more than 200 words, if you're writing a 300-word essay, then of course you need to spend more time on planning and writing, as well as proofreading. Okay. So a quick summary of everything that we have covered today. We've discussed the common problems and challenges. We have looked at how to analyze a question. What do we use as sources when it comes to generating ideas? What is brainstorming? Do we filter? Do we not filter? Planning, coherence and cohesion, logical flow of ideas and sentences, variety in vocabulary. We've looked at examples of introduction and conclusion. We have looked at the structure, in this case, a 5-paragraph essay, and we've also thought about time management.
Yes.
Thank you, Chinaraj. Thank you, everyone.
Thank
Any
you.
questions? Hello, Shankar.
Yeah. Good evening, Richa and Chinna, for having established
Thank
a
you so much.
very good rapport of writing an excellent essay in a structured manner. There are a couple of questions from the participants. And the first one, could you suggest some tips to refine the writing, especially from rural background, the students from the rural background?
Could you suggest
some tips to improve the writing skills of low proficiency learners?
Okay. So this, I would say, is in the context of language. We're talking about language here. Keeping in mind the fact that we are able to come up with ideas and opinions. When it comes to language, I think it's good to start small. So the examples mostly had complex grammatical structures. When I say complex grammatical structure, I mean a sentence having more than one idea. Multiple things targeted, sometimes even 4 to 5, fused together. So to help yourself with proficiency, start small. Start writing simple sentences and then see if you're able to connect them using linkers. Now, linkers are, it's a term used for, how you connect ideas. So small words like, or very high frequency words like and, because, but. So we start here and then we move on to low frequency or, not so common linkers such as however, moreover, um, and so. So we get into linkers. So to summarize, start small, start with simple sentences, write them all down, and then try to bring them together and see how you can create complex structures.
Okay, Richa, thank you. And there is another question from Monica. She wanted to be a blogger. She asked the question, could I use these essay writing methods in blogging also?
Absolutely. I'm going to go back to the first slide of how the way planning and brainstorming helps you to write an essay. The first 2 stages, I'm not sure if we give it that much importance. Free flow and planning. These 2 are very important stages. In my experience, a lot of people who work in corporate and write hundreds of emails every day, they use this skill. They use that stage. They brainstorm and then they plan how to write an email and then they write. So before writing, it's important to use these 2 stages. Coming back to her question, blogging also is a piece of writing that would need equal amount of planning and equal amount of brainstorming. So to for any kind of productive skill for that matter, writing or speaking, planning is a very, very good stage. And if you are able to do that for essay writing, you can do that for blogs or short stories.
Okay, okay, okay. Thank you, Richa, for throwing
Shankar.
light on writing for especially blogging. And there is another question from Subhantu. Any limit on how much we can divide the topic into different structures? So, is the essay has been asked to be written in 200 words?
Yes.
Is it all right to exceed, or will it affect the scoring in competitive examinations?
Good question. Actually, essays usually come with a lower limit. In this case, the lower limit was 200 words. Writing anything lower than that, not something I would recommend. Would it affect your score? I would say yes. And writing anything more than that, absolutely, why not? However, it's important to remember how much are we writing, because an essay with 200 words, you wouldn't have so much time. So don't spend anything more than 20 minutes. In this case, the example that we've been discussing, don't spend anything more than 20 minutes. We have to limit ourselves as well. The more you write, the more time you would be consuming, the more you will have to check and proofread. So why go into that circle? So I would say keeping it, if the lower limit is 200, keeping it under 250 is a very good idea. Between 200 and 250, that is.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. The final question to the webinar. So raised by Tina. Would you recommend the usage of proverbs or quotes in any part of your essay?
Would I recommend? No. I'll tell you why. Essay writing or the scoring that happens in essay writing is based on your language. Quotes and proverbs, yes, because it adds, it shows that you have higher proficiency in language. Quotations, however, is not your argument. It's not your language as such. So would I recommend quotations? Not really. It's not a good idea. What you can do, that if you are using someone else's quote or someone else's opinion, I would recommend, why don't you paraphrase? Use your own words and then reinstate the idea. In that way, you will be able to show more proficiency to the reader.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, Richa and Chinna, for throwing n number of questions and make it more interactive. And I absolutely believe that the participants have really enjoyed the session. And so the entire webinar focuses on the various problems faced by the learners of today, and especially in question analysis and how to plan for writing an essay, and what are the different structures and the format to be followed, and how it makes a big impact in written fluency, and how to use that language very effectively for writing the essay. So thank you so much for making it fabulous, Richa and Chinna. Chinna, you have really represented as a student community and asking as many clarified questions as possible to clarify your doubts connected with the writing essay. Okay, thank you to both the speakers on behalf of the now.
I would just like to give a vote of thanks. Thank you so much, Shankar, for the help throughout. Thank you, ELTAI, and thank you so much, Chinaraj, for your support. This would have been impossible without you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay. Now I do invite Dr. Ram Desai to propose the word of thanks.
Okay. I'm audible, Shankar sir? Yeah. Thank you, Shankar sir. It is said that the best and beautiful things in the world cannot be seen or even touched. they must be felt by heart. So thank you is a one such prayer among them. So as a ELTAI has been facilitating teaching fraternity as well as students fraternity by organizing national and international academic events. So ELTAI is taking efforts to invite eminent scholars from India and abroad to have intellectual deliberations on the different themes. So we hope you all had a nice evening today. I, Dr. Ramkishan Desai, on behalf of Organizing Committee of ELTAI Student Webinar Series 2020, I take this opportunity to express my sincere gratitude to the speakers of the day, Richa Sharma, CELTA certified ESL and EFL teacher, for accepting our invitation, and she has given her intellectual deliberation and valuable information on the topic writing skills, how to write an essay that she has shared with us today. The way she explained the topic is exemplary. So it is said that reading makes a full man and writing as an exact man, as said by the Francis Bacon, a great essayist. I appreciate and express our gratefulness to the student speaker, Mr. Chinna Raja, computer science graduate, Trivallur College of Engineering and Technology. I'm grateful to the moderator, Dr. S. Shankara Kumar, Secretary, ELTAI Coimbatore Chapter, for doing his job wonderfully. I appreciate and express our gratefulness to ELTAI Coimbatore Chapter and all core committee members, chapter members for taking a hard work to make this webinar possible. An event of this dimension cannot happen overnight. The wheels start rolling months in advance. So we have been fortunate enough to be backed by a team of very motivated and dedicated. So big thank you to all the students, teacher participants who are attending this webinar and who have joined from the different places of nations. So without your cooperation and support, we could not have witnessed this day. Last, I thank all national executive members, chapter heads, core committee members, and different committee members who helped directly and indirectly to make this webinar a grand success. Thank you, one and all. There are some instructions for you all. So don't forget to register and attend our upcoming webinars. So upcoming webinars is on using songs and music in a language classroom. And the speaker is John Kang. She is from the George Mason University. So you can join for this webinar on 27 September 2020 at 4:30 p.m. And the next ELTAI student webinar series, webinar number 3, is going to be held on 18th October 2020, and you will be getting the details of the webinar soon. So those who have attended the entire session, they will get a certificate of attendance within 1 week, and the feedback link will be sent through the mail. And last, don't forget to visit our website www.eltai.in, like our Facebook page, follow us on Twitter, subscribe the ELTAI YouTube channel for a more update. Thank you very much.
Thank you.